Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to answer what's a better dividend stock to buy right now. Is it Ford or is it GM stock? Now to answer that question, I'm going to look at their dividend yield. I'm going to look at their operating profit margin for the long term. I'm going to look at their valuation. I'm also going to look at their latest quarterly results, and I'm going to use all of that to come to the conclusion of which one is the better dividend stock to buy. I'm going to do all that in this brief video, so let's get started with Ford's latest quarterly results, which saw it increase its revenue by 20% and increase its adjusted earnings per share by 66%. The company announced a $3.5 billion investment in battery plants and will have the capacity to produce 500,000 electric vehicles per year starting in 2025. The company has experienced very good prospects over the last several quarters, billions in profitability and cash flow due to the supply chain shortages that have allowed Ford and GM, for that matter, to sell cars at higher prices. That's going to fuel a lot of the investments towards electric vehicles, towards the transition. GM also experiencing very good results in the near term. Its latest quarter saw its revenue grow by 11% and earnings per share grow by 25%. The company already sold more than 20,000 EVs in the US in the most recent quarter. It's now the number 2 in market share behind Tesla, and GM will have enough capacity to produce 1 million EVs by 2025 and even more after that. So the really good prospects in the last several quarters, several years, really since the onset of the pandemic, have fueled the GM with billions of dollars in cash that's allowed it to invest in the transition to electric vehicles. And oh, by the way, it's got this pioneering self-driving unit, Cruise, which is completing 1,000 driverless trips per day. That has the potential to generate 30 to 50 billion dollars in revenue by the year 2030. So exciting prospects for GM here. What about their dividend yields? Well, Ford has a dividend yield of 4.16%, but GM's dividend yield is just 0.95%. But as I always say, investing in a dividend stock is more than just looking at the dividend yield. You got to look at the prospects of the company over the near and long term, because if the company's got excellent prospects, that could be profitability that it can use to increase the dividend payment over time. So it's more than just the dividend yield. But looking at it right now, Ford does have the better dividend yield. Operating profit margin over the last 10 years, looking at this metric, Ford has consistently been ahead of GM, although GM has narrowed this gap and even had a few quarters where it was ahead of Ford in this metric. Most recently, they are very close, with Ford with an operating profit margin over the trailing 12 months of 7.38% and GM with an OP margin, with the operating profit margin of 6.65%. Finally, let's look at valuation. Which stock is more expensive right now? Judging by the forward price to earnings ratio, it's Ford. Ford is more expensive, trading at a forward PE of 8.3 compared to GM trading at a forward PE of 5.96. Now, if I had to decide today which one of these two dividend stocks to buy right now, I would go with the cheaper stock here. I would go with GM. I like both of their prospects in the near term. I like that GM has that cruise segment that's got this huge upside potential, really uncertain, really, remains to be seen, but could be huge. They've both got excellent prospects in terms of transitioning to EVs, but GM is ready with more EVs sooner than Ford. Remember, GM's going to have 1 million EVs production by 2025, where Ford will be half of that. So right now, Ford might be better in terms of the key metrics, but I think GM will surpass Ford over the next several years. For those reasons and the cheaper valuation, I would pick GM here as the better dividend stock to buy. Alright, but that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.